So, to the best of your ability, guys, this is what one looks like filled out. So I hope you still have your paper, your pen, or your phone, or whatever you're using to journal on. And you're going to do something similar. So this is what you're going to think about some of the things that are bothering you or stressing you out. And you're going to put them into two categories. So outside the circle are things that you can't control. So here, this one says how others treat me, or height, my skin color, past mistakes. These are things that you cannot control. And inside the circle, you're gonna write things that you can control that might kind of stress you out or create some anxiety. So maybe it's doing your homework earlier, or as soon as you get it, more so than procrastinating. Doing self-care. I don't think anyone does that enough. It's never, a lot of us don't put it on our list of priorities. So maybe that's one of the ones that you want to put in there. um, I'm going to share what a blank one would look like so that you can create your own. And I'll just give you guys a few seconds, and then we'll talk about a little bit of what we're putting on the outside and a little bit about what we're putting on the inside. And if anyone needs to see the example again, put it in the chat and Katrina will let me know to flip back. Right, does anyone want to share some of the things that we can control? I know that in some of the other conversations before, we were talking about, not being able to see our friends or family members as much as we have been, and this more related to COVID. I know next week, one of the topics that we're going to be talking about is communication. And so I wonder if there are ways that we can control certain things a little bit more so than we think we can. And it's just a matter of being creative about it.
JLC actually wrote my emotions in the chat.
Curious, JLC, is that you can control or you can't control?
I think it's what I can control because we're doing the middle of the circle.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool.
Can.
Is there anything that really stood out with what you can control that you didn't think of pre us putting this up there, and you like categorizing some of the things that you're facing that kind of surprised you?
Well, people are thinking, I just want to speak to the emotions part of it, because for me, I can control my emotions, but that took a lot of mindfulness. There were times where I was in that fight response, and I would just act out in anger and my words and all of that. But as I started to really pay attention to how I'm feeling and why I'm feeling and the needs, I have been able to, before reacting in my emotions, I'm able now to, and it takes practice and time, but I'm able to take a breath when I'm feeling angry or upset, and be able to vocalize if it's with a person and say, no, I need a moment before I can talk to you, and I can walk away, let the emotions be there, feel them, work through them, because it's not about dismissing them. Just like that journal activity, work through them, whether it's writing, whether it's talking in your mind, whether it's moving, and then coming back from that perspective and being able to process them and say, now I can respond to you. And sometimes I can do that in a breath. Sometimes I have to be like, you know what, I need, like, let's talk about this tomorrow, right? So that's something that I've learned over time, and it takes practice, and mindfulness is a part of it, for me at least. And it doesn't come overnight, but it's definitely possible.
We have another comment in the chat that says, I can control my time and the decisions I make.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
And time management is sometimes so important, especially when we're talking about school, when you get older, work. And so scheduling and keeping an agenda. Like I live with my phone in my hand, and it's not because of social media, it's because my calendar is on it. And without it, I become like a rooster without a head. I have no idea what I'm doing. So for time management and stuff, that's an awesome idea. What about some of the things that we can't control? Anything really stand out there?
Mind you, it doesn't have to be in the circle. Maybe it's something else you thought of, or like on the page. Sorry, outside the circle. Even if it's not on the page, if it's something else that you think of, by all means.
JLC wrote, what other people think of me. Just something I also had on mine.
Yeah, I think that's the big one, especially with being in the social media era where I know for a long while, I know Instagram and some of the other ones, they don't really show you how many likes or not visible to other people how many likes you're collecting. But yeah, I could definitely see how that affects people.
You know, it's funny because I put how I perceive myself and how other perceive. So instead of like think but perceive, but also contrary, I also wrote how I perceive myself in what I can control.
Mm-hmm.
So I can control how I perceive myself, but not how others perceive me.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder which ones you think kind of causes stress and anxiety more? Is it the things that you can control or the things that you can't control?
Just want to point out, Nora said, same, others forgiving me. Same and others forgiving me. Yeah.
Ah.
That was prior to your question.
Oh, okay.
That one really resonates with me too, that forgiveness part of it. And something that has helped me is that if I've done the most that I can do on my end in whatever situation, and I feel good about that or at peace about that, whether that's me apologizing or me making different changes, that's something that I can control, right? So I do those things and accept that I've done the most that I can do and be good with that, because I can't control if people are gonna say, okay, I forgive you or not. That I can't control, but I can do the maximum that I feel that I need to do for whatever that circumstance is. And once I've done that, for me, my inner work is just accepting that and being good with that, because I can't do that, but I can change my actions. I can learn from that situation, and that's what it is. And another thing that came to mind quickly that I wanted to share is what people think about you and like what they say about you. It reminded me of my brother, because he's into all these games, and you know how you can like write comments in the chat, and like sometimes they're really mean and aggressive, and then he started writing comments too, and just got into a whole cycle. And he was like, well, you know what I can do, because I feel like I'm being really toxic right now, this is me sharing my brother's perspective, is I can mute them and I don't have to hear anything. So that's in your control.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wish you could do that in real life, right? You're physically with somebody, you can't just mute them.
No, but you can walk away.
Yeah.
I guess that's the equivalent. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And be like, walk away, and you can be like, you know what, this friend actually isn't good for me. And it might be like you might have to go through that grieving process of losing your friend, but they weren't good for you. And maybe that's a whole other topic. We're gonna do healthy relationships, so we'll come back to that. But yeah.
Nura actually said in the chat as well, I feel like the things that I can control stresses me more than the things I can't control, which I think is important to notice too, because sometimes if you're not in control of those things that you know you can control, it can cause a lot of stress because you know it's in your reach, but sometimes if you're not able to get there fast enough and complete those tasks, and like for me, I have homework and self-care, and if I'm not able to do those things, it causes me stress because I know they're right there and I know that I'm capable of it. But yeah, I think that's a good point.
Absolutely, for sure. And that just brings me right back to, in that stressor, the need might be self-compassion.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all for, you guys are just like being brave and sharing and being authentic. And I just think it's really beautiful. So thank you for that. So that goes right into our circle of care. So who's in our circle of care? So we talk about circle of control, but what are the things that we can do to take care of ourselves? Who are the people that are in your circle of care that can provide comfort and help, your support network, your support tools? So I just want you to just take a moment and to write those things out for you. So you can make a big circle, and inside the circle, you can write all the things that are who are in your circle of care, and what tools are in your circle of care. So there you go. You don't have to draw a circle if you're doing it on your phone, but that could be your support network. It could be your best friend. It could be a community group like Rex Pride. It could be those breathing exercises or an app that helps. There's no limitation. Anything that helps. Tools and people. What is in your circle of care? It might be your cat or your dog. Maybe it's connecting with someone that shares the same values or prayers and religious beliefs, possibly. Anything that's in your circle of care counts, and can be tools too. So maybe I'll give you about 30 more seconds if you're still writing, or if you're done, just let me know in the chat. Or if you need more time, you can let me know too.
Well, they're doing that because I love to share, but also to give an example so you guys can see it's not necessarily like, well, anyways, I'll read out what I said. So my wife, my sister, my brother, some coworkers, my dogs, some best friends, my cousin Lorraine, the Calm app. I don't know if you've seen that app. I love that app. Breathing, writing, gum, sticky, which is my duct tape. Motorcycle, riding is great. My therapist, Michelle, awesome therapist. CBD oil, milk, love milk. My mom's handkerchief, playing my guitar, and talking to my mom. She passed, so I just every once in a while I'll just talk to her like she's there.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. The music resonates with me. Talking, prayer resonates with me. You can say prayer, but talking to your mom, but that's part resonates with me. And even just going for walks, nature, it's a part of my circle of care.
JLC says they're done.
And yeah, if you want to share, you can. You don't have to, but if you want to, it might spark some ideas, or like, oh yeah, I never thought about that, but that is a bit of my circle of care. And just hearing Terrence, you read your list, it reminded me of some other things too.
I listen, and I want to say therapy. I highly recommend therapy. If you can find a good one, because not all therapists are the greatest, but if you find one that works for you, oh, can work wonders.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing therapy since I was 14.
Yeah.
Anybody like to share anything? Not a full list, or maybe an item or two that works for them? So looking for their, yeah.
I could even share one. Is something that I probably wouldn't think to put on, but I put food because I find that I feel so comforted in different like dishes. Maybe if it's connected to my grandma made it or my aunt made it, or something that's just familiar to me, it brings me that comfort sometimes.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how these things connect. Like, so the milk thing for me was because when I was a kid, I was extremely anxious, but my generation didn't talk about anxiety or know what it was. So I was just a weird kid that never ate. I was a toothpick, I was skinny. And milk became the only thing I ingested for many years, barely any food. And I just would down it. But it gave me comfort, but it also coated my stomach, which took away that nausea and the hungry feeling at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and now years later, obsessed with milk.
And food, food is nourishment. We need food to thrive, to live, right? So that is a part of our care. And I don't have time to go back into it, but like our food and our gut health connects to our emotions. So when we're eating well, that's going to affect or impact our well-being. You might notice when I eat certain foods, I might feel energized. Other times I might feel like I feel good for a moment, but then I feel really like sluggish, right? So eating certain types of food can contribute to your care. Yeah.
We also have in the chat, my friends are always on the top of my list.
Mm. Yeah, that connection is so important. So important. Okay. So I'm going to do a very, very, very quick breathing mindfulness activity. I wanted to do a little bit longer, but I am aware of time. But I think if, can we give 5 minutes to it? If everyone's good with that, if you can stay on. If you have to go, I understand. It's going to be recorded and sent out so you can catch up and still get the benefits. We have to log off right now. Okay, so and just get this ready here. Let's take a moment, and I just want to give you 10 seconds. We might have been sitting or just in the same spot, just to really like stretch and move a little bit. So I'm going to lift my hands up and reach up to the sky. You can do what I'm doing, or you can do something else, doesn't matter. And then I'm going to bring the hands down. Gonna extend across the body. This is for me. Again, you can ignore my voice. Spread my fingertips wide and just feel energy through my arms. I'm gonna take a breath in. And on the exhale, I'm just gonna simply move to one side and come into a twist. And notice what that feels like in my body. Any stretches, any tension, where I feel it. And even here, just check in with your breath. Make sure you're not holding your breath, but see if you can allow yourself to breathe. On my next inhale, I'm going to come to center, and exhale, go all the way to the other side. Keeping that energy through the fingertips if you can, so spread them wide. Reach, reach, reach. Notice what this side feels like. Maybe it's a little bit different. Any sensations? Tingling, stretching, maybe pulsing. And when you're ready, Inhale, come back to center, and let go. I'm gonna just shake it out a little bit. Okay. So in a seated position, or wherever you are, just either close or lower your gaze. And let's just take a moment to check in with how you're feeling right now. You've heard a lot of information, and now I just want you to really tune into yourself and come up with 1 or 2 words to describe how you're feeling in this moment. Bring your attention back to your breath, noticing your inhales and your exhales. Just checking in on the rhythm of your breath. Just noticing, no judgment, but just what do I notice about my inhales and my exhales? And as we bring our attention to our breath, we're going to just notice the things that pop into your mind for 30 seconds. So our mind may wander, may start thinking about other things. And as soon as you realize that, just, notice a thought's happening. And then bring your attention back to your inhales and to your exhales. Just paying attention to your breath and to thoughts that come and go out of the mind. And a few more breaths. When you're ready, you can bring your gaze up. And if you want, I'll let you just note down what are the things that came into your mind just quickly as you are focusing on your breath, the things that popped up. What's taking up your mind space currently? Maybe it's, when is this going to end? Maybe it's thinking about all the information. Maybe it's, I'm hungry. Whatever it is, just note.
That's the second time I've heard you say I'm hungry. I have a feeling
I
you're
know. Maybe. It's getting close to dinner time. Maybe it's I'm bored. Okay, so I'm going to read a quote to you. We're just going to bring our awareness to what thoughts are coming up when I say words. Like, what are the things that you're thinking about this quote? Do I agree? Do I disagree? Or that's interesting? And there's no right or wrong. It's just simply noticing. And then we're going to soon after end. Okay? So coming into either like just closing your eyes. You can be seated or you can be lying down on your back. Doesn't matter. Just comfortable position. Close or lower your gaze, whatever feels accessible to you. Bring your attention to your breath again. Just notice where you can feel the breath in your body. Your throat, chest, tummy, or maybe your back. Maybe you're like, I can't feel my breath. It's a little bit hard to connect with, and that's okay. Just noticing that. And now I'm going to share a quote, a little story. So your mind is like a piece of land planted with many different kinds of seeds. You might notice that things are growing now. It's that season. So your mind is the same way. Seeds of joy could be planted, maybe seeds of peace, mindfulness, understanding, and love. Seeds of craving, anger, fear, hate, and forgetfulness. If you plant tomato seeds in your garden, tomatoes will grow. Just so, if you water a seed of peace in your mind, peace will grow. When the seeds of happiness are watered, you will become happy. When seeds of anger in you is watered, you'll become angry. The seeds that are watered frequently are those that will grow strong. The seeds that are watered frequently are those that will grow strong. So I'll just take a moment and just acknowledge any thoughts that have come up with that, maybe agreeing with some of it, maybe noticing some seeds that are being watered currently in you, without judgment, but it's just being curious of what information came up from hearing this quote. If you want to note them down, you can. Notice any sensations that are coming up right now. Your breath, your heart rate, tingling, anything that is coming up. You might feel certain energy or pulsing, or just take a check-in with your body right now. Notice what you might be feeling sensation-wise. And I leave you with this question. What is a self-care seed that you want to water? What is a seed of comfort, or maybe a need that came up in our exploration that you want to water? And once you have that, if you want to share it in the chat, you can. You don't have to, but that is my offering to you for this week, is that you water that seed that you just wrote down, and to think about ways that you can do that, maybe in your circle of care that can support watering that seed. You can even, if you want to write about that or make a little plan around that. Just like Davika was saying, like, I have to have my agenda and to note it down to make sure that I can do it. Whatever you need to do to support yourself in watering that seed, think about those things so that they can come into action, that you can do it this week for yourself.
I added the file for the seeds quote that you shared in the chat, so if anybody would like it. The JPEG, it's an image.
And that's going to lead us right into our checkout. So thinking about how you're feeling right now. So our feelings change from moment to moment to moment. We've checked in a couple of times, but right now, in this moment, close your eyes, bring it into yourself, and how are you feeling right now?
So you go to menti.com, menti.com, put in the code 104631, and then answer away.
So the questions on Menti are: how are you feeling? How was the session? What are some things that you've taken away from the session? Maybe it's a coping tool, something you realized about yourself. And if you don't want to use Menti, you can still use the chat.
I'm just taking in all that is being shared, as more aware of my feelings. Yeah. Awesome. Space and maybe subconsciously hunger for me.
Okay, so I'll read out what we have on Menti so far. We have relax, interesting, self-care, focusing on my needs, more aware of my feelings, self-compassion, more relaxed, control, space, and reflection.
Thanks for sharing and continuing to share and being open and true and vulnerable, which is a strength in my opinion. And know that there are other supports. I just want to point back to Terrence, your resources that you had before that list, and the tools that you have, and the objects and things of comfort that you have access to in your home. And I encourage you to use them this week.
And I'd like to offer one more thought, and I don't know if anyone has had this realization today or any other time. I have more recently in my life, and I'm older. But your emotions. So we talked a little about feelings right now, actually in the past 2 sessions, because we talk about them because they're important. They're not just important because you're experiencing them and how they affect you and you're experiencing them, but your emotions are also tools. We were talking about other tools. Your emotions are tools. They're your tools to show you your needs, as we mentioned as well today. So like, for example, at first when I was dealing with anxiety, I hated my anxiety. And although it may be challenging sometimes, I appreciate my anxiety now because my anxiety is telling me that there's something I need to focus on and solve. Mm-hmm. So, we call them good or bad emotions, the happiness, the sadness, the anger, the anxiety, all these emotions are all speaking to how we feel and what we need to find peace and balance and happiness. So it's really good to be in tune and really pay attention to those feelings, listen to them, explore them, validate them, and find out what they're trying to tell you.
Yes, all of that. Absolutely. And I just want to add, it reminded me of the using them, even in the post earlier about stress, about your perspective on these feelings. And they're there to tell you the information, like you're saying, but you can utilize these emotions for your betterment and in some ways, and to take action. So anger, sometimes people stay away from anger, but anger can be really useful if directed in a healthy way, right? There's an injustice happening and people are angry, and it's causing action to do peaceful protests. They're using that energy of anger in a way that can help. And just like Taryn said, these emotions and these feelings are your body's way of telling you that there's, just to reiterate, the need, or someone else's need, or some compassion that needs to be acted upon, whether that's self-care, whether that's allyship, whether that's yeah, we'll just keep it at that. And please don't hide away from your emotions, because they're built in us for a reason. So embrace them, write about them,
Work with them.
work with them.
Yes.
Work
They don't
through
control
them.
us. We don't control them. We work together.
Yeah, we work through them, with them. I think that's good. Good to know, to end on. Well, thank you for that reminder.
Just a reminder, everybody, the topic for next week's session is going to be communication. And we will be sending out new Zoom links for next week.
Yeah.
So look out for it.
Mhm.
Bye, everyone.